If you run an e-commerce brand, you've probably wondered whether you, the owner, need to have a personal brand. Should you be on YouTube? Would a podcast help sell your product? And then right behind that question is the real one. How? Because you're not a celebrity, you're not an influencer. You started a product company, not a media company, and you have no idea how your face connects to your product. Here's what I can tell you. The highest ROI creator partnerships in e-commerce right now are not on Instagram. They're on YouTube, long form. And the brands that are figuring out how to build their own long-form content, even when the founder isn't famous yet, are unlocking a growth channel that almost nobody is using yet. I'm John Coyle, and this is The Checkout, where proven e-commerce operators help you scale past 8 figures. And today we're joined by Kev Michael, a podcast and YouTube growth expert who's helped hundreds of shows build an audience from scratch. Kev's going to break down exactly how an e-commerce founder builds a personal brand that actually drives product sales, why the biggest mistake is making it about yourself, the framework for connecting your content to your product's transformation, and the practical first steps, even if you have zero audience and a full-time job while running your brand. Okay, guys, as you know, the way that we help people on the show is we take their questions, we answer the questions. The idea of personal brand related to product is mostly reserved for like famous brands, Chamberlain Coffee, Logan Paul and Prime and stuff like that. And I think that there are some emerging brands that are doing this well without a famous person, which is why we have you here to talk about it, and why I think at the end of this, I think we break something down for Bart, for DadGang. We were kind of talking about something yesterday that we could maybe workshop live on the show. It could be fun.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so first question, I've kind of gathered all of our questions around personal brand from e-commerce people. I started my brand because I wanted to sell a product, not be an influencer, but everyone keeps saying I need a personal brand. I'm not a doctor, I'm not famous. How does my face connect to my product?
Yeah. So you don't need it, right? You can obviously have a thriving business without it, but it sure freaking helps these days.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing now in e-commerce and across tons of different industries is that it just lowers your CPMs, it lowers your cost per acquisition, and when you can get the plane in the air, you just make a lot of money, right? And it really, really helps your business.
Yeah.
The key mistake that I'm seeing business owners make is that they think, stick with me now, they think it's about them. They think it's about their face. And that makes sense, right? Because you're like, personal brand. It's a brand about me. Mm-hmm. But what makes personal brands actually work is when you make content that's about something that's super relevant to whoever your customer is. Mm-hmm. And then they like that content, and then they link the good feeling that they got from consuming that content to you. So it's like you are kind of a step removed. When you do it right, they make it all about you. Like the people who really want a personal brand, they want like the attention and, they want the status and everything. It'll come, but if you make it all about yourself, it's not going to work. And that tends to be the trip up where people are like, well, I don't know. Should I make it about me? Should I make like a vlog or something like that? So that's the first thing that a business owner needs to understand. You're making content about something.
Right. Yeah, I think there are some people doing this there's a new wave of e-commerce brands who are doing this on vertical social, right? On Instagram and on TikTok, where they're like kind of portraying the brand as this very grassroots thing, which is what you did. It was a grassroots thing. Started in the garage. Yeah. Like, was that the content early on? Was it like...
Oh, yeah.
Really? Okay.
I was just time lapse. So I started DadGang with like 100 hats in our garage. And I would just set up a phone somewhere far away and time lapse myself packing like 10 boxes. Yeah. And my wife was pregnant at the time, so she was in there helping me. And that was the content. It's like more orders came in, and it wasn't about me in that instance. The subject was packing orders. And so I was just highlighting like the process of the brand being built.
Right. Yeah, that I think is playing well on vertical social right now. And I think we're going to maybe talk a little bit more about how you could do it with long form. I don't think there's a lot of people tapping there, but I think that what's happening on vertical social, and by that I mean like TikTok and Instagram basically, is it's like a signal, right? And the holy grail of video content to me is always long form. Like the end boss or the Charizard version of any video content, right, is long form. Like you've got influencers who have an Instagram following or TikTok following, but who has the biggest depth, or like maybe not even the biggest audience, but the most people who are willing to kind of like move, like do stuff for them It's like long form content creators, podcasters, streamers, really. Streamers who have like this insane parasocial relationship with their audience. And so I think the reason that I want to talk about this is because like if there is this signal that these like, time-lapse clips or Bart saying, hey, we got more hats in, or, like, this is exciting, we just first got our 100 hats in, here's us picking and packing orders in the garage at night, and stuff. That's the kind of thing that's working. And that was 3 years ago that was working, and I still see it working now today.
Yeah.
One of the top performing ads in almost any ad account is a founder ad, a founder telling the story of the brand.
Yeah.
If there is this signal that that's working on vertical social, I think that it's like, what's the Charizard version into YouTube? To answer the person's question, I think if you don't want a personal brand, then maybe you probably, like, e-commerce is probably one of those spaces where it's like, if you really just want to be anonymous, you can be still. Yep. I will say, I do think things will be a lot easier if you're willing to be on camera. Even just like I said, if you're not willing to make a founder telling the story of the brand ad, like, that's an ad unit that all your competitors are going to be willing to make that you're not.
Yeah. What I'll talk about is the difference between short form and long form with this regard.
Yeah.
Because you can absolutely still crank short form. That's time lapses. That's, here's what I'm doing here. That's awesome. It's bite sized. It's chunky, like people can consume one 60-minute video and be like, oh, this is cool. Let's watch all these orders stack up. Like, okay, that's entertaining. It's a totally different skill to hold someone's attentions for 30 to 60 minutes.
Yes.
And I've consulted with a lot of influencers who crush it on short form and then launch podcasts and really, really struggle.
Yeah. Yep.
Because at that point, like, you can only do so much for so long. And that's when the show, because essentially a podcast now is a TV show.
Right.
They're mostly videos, and you have to have something that they're there for a super long time, which is just a little bit of a different game. So if you're someone who is doing really well on short form and you're looking to get into long form, it's, I think, a little bit of a more blue ocean, I think, in the e-commerce side.
I think so.
So the opportunity is there, but it's like a little bit of a different skill set compared to like, oh, everyone, look, I'm Snapchatting you updates versus like, I'm making a show. What's the show about?
Yes. Yeah. And this person, so the second question here is, I've been told YouTube is the play right now for e-commerce, but we're a small team and I'm already running the business full time. Is building a YouTube channel or podcast realistic? Or is that just for people who are already public figures, right? So he's probably thinking like, yeah, I guess Chamberlain Coffee is killing it, but like, she was already that, right? She's already a podcaster. I'm going to jump in here and say some of the best ROI you can get on advertising right now is with YouTube creators. If you're doing pay for post at all, like, do you guys do pay for post?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why?
Just don't.
Okay. I'm going to tell you why you don't.
Hasn't heard this episode yet.
I'm going to tell you why you don't pay for post on Instagram, because it's not worth it. You're not going to get a good ROI on it.
Oh, are you talking about boosting?
No. I'm talking about like paying an influencer to post. Just saying,
no.
We'll pay you post.
No, we don't at all.
So yeah, pay for post on Instagram. Look, I've
been in that world for way too long. Yeah.
I'm the last person to say any marketing channel is dead. There is always value to extract from any marketing channel.
Yeah.
If you're starting a brand today, don't do pay for post. It's like the worst place to start, right?
No, and we've seen it on the highest level where it's happened for free. Yeah. Like, we've had the top 3 biggest streamers in the world have one of the biggest athletes in the world on their podcast, and they wore a DadGang hat for hours on this stream. And then we've had huge NFL athletes wear our hats and stuff and post it on their pages. And people automatically will be like, what were sales like that day? It's like, they were the same. Sales were the same.
I have a friend who, you know him as well, I think, from Twitter at least. I'll shout him out. Zach Stuck. He has a brand called Hollow Socks, right? Joe Rogan organically shouted him out, as he does sometimes.
I actually heard that when he did it.
Yeah. You were listening?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just...
No, he was like with Cameron Haynes talking about running or something, and they're like, "What kind of socks do you wear?"
That was like the vein of Joe Rogan episodes that you're really into.
Yeah, running.
So Hollow Socks got a shout out on there, and people were probably like, "Oh man, the Rogan bump was probably crazy." But I'm like, look, I happen to know already that Hollow Socks spends $100,000 a day on Meta ads.
Wow. Okay?
Yeah. I'm not saying Joe Rogan can't create a bump, but like, when you're already that big, it's like it barely registers on the Richter scale.
All right, let's talk AI tools, but with email.
there's a lot of AI tools out there. Every single platform is telling you, hey, we rolled out an AI tool, which is awesome, but sometimes it can mean nothing. So one of the things I love about working with Attentive is not only do they present AI tools and let you know when they're available, but for us, they walk you through them. You get to do a trial. You get to see if it's even working before you sign up. And at the end of the day, it almost feels like there's no added cost to adding these tools. That might sound crazy, but I just added AI Pro, AI Grow, AI Audiences, AI Send Time, and all these AI enhancements to my Attentive stack. And it's been incredible. Like we use Attentive. I'm not just writing for Attentive because we use it. There's other platforms out there, but these tools are insane. Like AI Audiences, you always think your segment is perfect, right? Oh, I'm so good at segmenting my audiences. But now you can turn on AI Audiences and that segment gets cleaned up even more. It doesn't deplete the segment and remove people. It's just cleaning it up to give you more people that are more likely to act on a send, an SMS send, or an email send. And it's just been great. I turn it on almost every single time. So if you haven't yet, get Attentive because it's awesome. Email and SMS in just one place. And then check out their AI tools. You don't have to just jump in, get a 60-day trial or whatever trial they offer you. They'll prove out that they work. From there, just have fun.
I got in an argument with my marketing agency, and we went back and forth. In the end, I just kind of threw up my hands and I said, fine, I let them win, and I am glad that I did. I'm glad I was wrong. So here's the story. A couple months ago, my CRO team, the team that's in charge of making sure I get more conversions and make more money on my website, they came to me with an idea. They wanted to switch the default on my product pages from one-time purchase to subscription. My personal opinion and my worries were that it would lower the conversion rate. It would make the customers mad because they didn't mean to subscribe. They just wanted to buy the product once. And I thought that it would increase churn. In the end, I said, I thought it would scare off buyers, but I decided to let them test it. They pushed me hard on this. We defaulted the buy box on the product page to subscriptions. So, they had to switch to one-time purchase if they just wanted to buy one time. Otherwise, they were going to be on subscription. They're going to get billed next month, and they're going to get a product again next month. Just to be clear, we made it very easy to toggle back to one-time purchase. We made it very obvious. The reality was that our overall conversion rate didn't drop at all. This did not change our conversion rate. It had a 0% change, but our subscription opt-in rate jumped significantly by like 3 times higher, right? We used to have a 10% opt-in to subscription. Now we have a 30% opt-in to subscription. We tracked the real impact using IntelliGems to make sure we weren't losing money on the back end. Now, one caveat, if you do a test like this and you copy me here, you do have to monitor your customer service tickets to see if you have had more accidental subscriptions and just kind of weigh that against how much increased subscription revenue you're getting. But the lesson is, don't let your opinions get in the way of growing your business. Run the actual tests. If you're not running the tests like this, then you should be, and you should be doing it with IntelliGems. So go to intelligems.io to start testing what actually moves the needle for your brand. All right, let's get back to it. But on YouTube, that is not the case, right? So you can pay for integrations in YouTube long form with YouTube long form creators and just pay their price and get an ROI on it.
Yeah.
Podcast creators specifically, like advertising on podcasts for e-commerce brands does regularly work, which makes me think that if you could just own the media, that could also work.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And what's cool, speaking to the business owner who wants to know, like, is this worth it? I don't have a lot of time. It's also 2 different lifestyles if you're going to be a creator, right? If you're going to create content, particularly now with YouTube, it's not about frequency. So you don't have to publish weekly anymore. That's in the audio podcast world, it is really important to publish every single week at a certain time. But what we're seeing now is that the shows, particularly podcasts on YouTube that are growing the fastest, publish less frequently, but with quality. So if you're going to be building a personal brand on social media, you're posting every day, or maybe even multiple times per day. YouTube, you can do once a month, and as long as you have a show that's about something, which I'll give you an example of that from a coffee brand, actually. Before the YouTube era, there was a popular podcast by, I think it was called Death Wish Coffee, and it was like really strong coffee. Right, like insanely strong. Like I tried it once and it was too much for me, and I love caffeine. Like it was crazy strong. So their whole thing, like they didn't create a show that was like, let's talk about coffee. They created a podcast called Fueled by Death. and they brought in people and talked about like near-death experiences and like really extreme
that's awesome.
stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like around the brand, and it did well for them. It sold a lot of coffee because people came to the show first, and then they're like, this is a genuinely great show. I'm interested in this thing.
Yeah. Black Rifle Coffee also has a podcast that does like pretty well.
Yeah.
Can I like point out a couple characteristics of that example that you gave?
Yeah.
So if one thing that's going to be a little bit different if you want to launch, let's say, a podcast as an e-commerce brand, is it is going to have a more mass appeal than most of, like, you probably mostly advise like coaches, consultants, things like that, where their podcast doesn't have to have as much mass appeal. If it's going to be for an e-commerce brand, there probably is going to need to be a bit more mass appeal. Like, it's going to need to be an entertainment show or just something that a lot of people would be interested in.
Yep.
But you know, like, it can still be meaningful. It doesn't have to be like pure. Chris Williamson has an e-commerce brand.
That's right.
So it can still be meaningful, but it has to be something that can grow a pretty large audience. Whereas like a podcast for somebody who's a tax coach for, you know, a 3PLs or something like that, like, they can have a very narrow podcast.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, that gets into the difference between niche and specific.
Okay.
So niche is a small group of people. It's just like, this is only going to hit like, you know, 1,000 people. You can be specific and be mass market. And where people mess up mass market shows is that they make their show really vague, right? It's like stories or like success, right? We're going to talk about...
You want to know my favorite one? Honest conversations.
Oh, God.
Candid conversations.
Yeah. I've been doing this for...
That's all of them now. They're all
7
that
years.
now.
Oh, it's been that way. Real unfiltered conversations.
Unfiltered is my favorite word.
Please, for the love of God, filter it.
Filter it.
We need the filter.
Yeah.
Right. And
what unfiltered who likes unfiltered anything?
Yeah, no,
like,
we don't
nobody
want that.
likes unfiltered anything.
Right.
You know?
So that's the difference, like, between specific and like modern wisdom. That's a specific premise. It's wisdom in the modern day. And if you look at the biggest shows that have huge audiences, like Diary of a CEO, even though they like go away from Diary of a CEO, and the show started as literally Stephen Bartlett's like diary, it still gives you a specific thing. We're going to talk about what it's like to be a CEO. So that's the difference between niche and specific. So totally agree. If you're going to do it, if you're doing e-commerce, you have to go wide market, but you still can make a specific show.
Which I think is the premise or the format of the show is specific. So near-death experience stuff, it's like, that's mass market. A lot of people will find that interesting. But it's like, we're doing a show every time. And I heard this from like, I think Rhett and Link talking about their show.
Yeah.
What's it called? Good Mythical Morning. And they're like, it's like like, you don't turn on the TV at the time that Colbert is on and Colbert is not on.
Right.
Like, we don't miss. It's a show. It has a system that runs. It's, you know, it has a format. So to his point about like, we have a small team and stuff like that, like, yes, so you have to figure out how to work within your constraints, but like figure out how you do the thing consistently. What is the schedule? It can be longer in between, like you said. And I think that's interesting because as AI comes into play more, I almost wonder if like the stuff that publishes less often because it's harder to do will become like the better thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're interested in things that take effort. So like when I'm scrolling on social media, and as soon as I detect, we all do it. As soon as you detect something's AI, you're like, wow, I'm gone, right?
Yeah.
But when you don't think it's AI, and you're like, wow, this took this person so much time. Like, this is so impressive.
Yeah.
We're like, holy crap, because effort is scarce. Human effort will always be scarce, and we're interested in scarcity. I'm totally with you.
I want to like maybe run a few scenarios.
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip a question here. So let's say but then I want to come back to it a couple ones. So let's say I'm convinced that I wanted to start, and I wanted to do like a YouTube channel. Right now, my brand is doing just over 7 figures. You run ads, or I run ads, and I have no audience. What's my first 3 moves?
Yeah.
Right. So a little bit of traction. That is, they don't have a ton of budget at 1 to 2 million for an e-commerce brand.
Right.
Yeah. What's the first 3 moves?
Do we want to do do you want to like pick a product or pick an example or something? Because that's what the first thing.
That let's do that. So let's say, okay, I got one. Like, oh, that one's too easy though. I'll just say it. All right. Let's say a clothing brand.
Okay.
All right. And I'm gonna change it a little bit. Let's say it's not like a niche clothing brand like DadGang.
Yep.
Because I think that's too easy. I'm gonna give you that one at the end. But let's say it's more like a True Classic Tees, but in the early stage. Are you familiar with True Classic Tees? Yeah. So like, I don't know, Well, how do you describe true classic t-shirts?
Basics. Basic t-shirt for men.
Yeah, basics is the actual word.
Yeah.
I think they would say, make your dad bod look not like a dad bod.
Yeah, that was the original comedian approach that they took.
Right, yeah.
And did that work? Like, were we talking about that era?
So if this were true classic at 1 to 2 million, all of their messaging is like, you're not fat, your shirt's making you look fat.
Right.
Yeah, they leaned into that aggressively in the beginning.
Because it's boxy and it's like, so it should be tight in the shoulders and chest and loose in the belly, right? I'm wearing a true classic right now.
I mean, I got them at home, and I remember a buddy of mine when that was the marketing that they were doing. His girlfriend got him a bunch for Christmas and said, "See," and he was like, "No, you hired a trainer.
you got me the fat guy shirts.
Horrible." But okay, so that's what we dive into. So you're right. I do work with a lot of coaches and consultants, but I have worked with e-commerce brands and different similar businesses. And it's still true that with a podcast, with a YouTube show, we need to say, okay, who is this show for? Mm-hmm. And how do we want it to make them feel? What is it going to do for them?
Yeah.
So when I come into a business, I'm like, all right, tell me about your positioning. Tell me about like how, arguably, I would assume like in e-commerce, you more so have to do that if you're selling something that's could be commoditized. It's like how is this different? Who is this for? What's the vibe? So with that in particular, I'd say, okay, let's explore shows that are funny for dads, right? Funny for guys with dad bods. Like, who are those people? And what I say is, every podcast, it becomes easier to grow it if you get really specific behind what is the point A that your audience is currently in, who are you going after, and what is their psychographics, not demographics, male, age. We don't care about that as much.
Yeah,
it's who are they? What are their problems, hopes, fears, and dreams?
Yeah,
and then from there we say, okay, how do we want to impact that, and what's the point B that we want to bring them to? For a consulting show, it's pretty straightforward. It's like, if you're in this pain, I can help you get out of it.
Right.
But even, for something like this, like you could come up with a show it could be a comedy show.
Yeah.
And it could be about, it could be called Dad Bots.
Yeah.
And it could be about like what it's like, when you used to be in shape and you're not anymore, and just like what the dad life is like.
Yeah. It could be like stories about, or it could, if you wanted to take it outside of a podcast studio, it could be like, you're entering like adult sports leagues.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like a kind of fat guy, or whatever.
Hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Or you're that kind of dad bod guy, and you're like doing things with super ripped people.
That's funny.
Like, right? So it's just, you can make a show out of anything.
You can tell in the way we just laughed at that idea that would be very entertaining.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we say is the best podcasts and the best YouTube shows pose a specific question.
Yeah.
And the question introduces tension that we want to know how it gets resolved. So that is, okay, what happens when this dude jumps into an MMA ring? Right. I want to know how that resolves.
It's what was Pros versus Joes was a TV show that kind of did a similar thing originally. So you could variate that or whatever.
Even like at the highest level, like when, because I love the interactive stuff. I think like when people break up podcasting still, but like bring it to a different environment, like Kevin Hart and Old Spice, Cold as Balls.
Yeah.
Like that thing was so genius because and a little bit of the true classic example is like they took Kevin Hart, who is, great in his own right for movies and all that stuff. And then they would pair him with like Brock Lesnar. Yeah. And Kevin Hart would speak to him as if like, yeah, I could take you in the ring,
Yeah.
Or they bring like, Wemby from the Spurs.
They started out with basketball players.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of like he's putting himself, even though he's crazy famous and rich, he's putting himself next to these super athletes, which he could never be. And he's kind of like, bragging that I used to play in the church league basketball team and all this stuff. So like bringing some kind of interactive element when your conversation could end up being boring if you were just at a table per se.
Right. If you want to turn your post-purchase experience into a real revenue channel without annoying your customers, you need Redo. Most brands get cross-sells and upsells completely wrong. There's 3 ways to sell people more stuff. First, more if it makes sense. If someone buys cinnamon raisin bagels from me, the first thing I'm going to say is, hey, it seems like you like cinnamon raisin bagels. Would you like more cinnamon raisin bagels? Here's our best possible deal on that. This works for anything consumable. If somebody buys a wallet, don't pitch them another wallet. They've already got a wallet. In that case, you should do the second kind of upsell, which is help them use it. If you've sold them a wallet, pitch them leather conditioner. This works very well with hard goods and products where people only need one of them. It doesn't work well when someone doesn't need help using it. So if they buy a gut health gummy, they don't need help using that. They know how to eat a gummy. If they buy a gut health gummy from you, then you should use the third type of upsell, which is solve their next problem. If someone buys a gut health gummy, what's the next problem they're going to have when they fix their gut health? Maybe they'll want to lose weight. Maybe they'll want to build muscle. That is the upsell, okay? Hey, your gut health is going to be all good. After that, I'm telling you, you're going to want to build some muscle. So why don't we throw in our creatine gummies for 50% off? So you're going to want to map out what your customers actually need next. Now, we use Redo to automate this on our order tracking page. So every time somebody goes to track their order and figure out where it is, we're using these exact tactics to sell them the next thing. The right product at the right moment feels helpful, not pushy. That's how you turn a post-purchase upsell from yucky and like car salesman-y into a real revenue channel. If you want to do this too, head over to getredo.com to see how they automate smart cross-sells on your tracking page. I consult across 10 e-commerce brands totaling $250 million a year in revenue, and these are the exact tactics I would use to go from $1,000 a day to $5,000 a day in revenue without running a single paid ad. And this is part 2 of my no paid ad series. So at this stage, we're already making $1,000 a day. You finally have some real customers. So the goal is to recruit affiliates everywhere. Every customer should be a salesperson for you. So you're going to auto-enroll every customer into your affiliate program using Social Snowball. Then you're going to push that affiliate link everywhere. So after they check out on your website, on the post-purchase thank you page, it's going to say, hey, cool, thanks for buying. Hey, by the way, if you want to tell friends about this, here's a link. You can get a commission. In the email that tells them their order's on the way, you're going to say, hey, by the way, if you want to tell friends about us, you can get a commission. Here's your link. You're recruiting them everywhere, and they're auto-enrolled. I want every single customer who buys from me to know that they can get paid to talk about my brand and refer friends. This is also the moment I'm going to start building a personal brand alongside the main brand. And this is a fun little tactic. Not a lot of brands are doing it. I'm kind of letting you in on something that I've seen work a couple times here. First of all, there's a couple reasons for this. The first one I'm going to cover today. The second one I'm going to cover later. On TikTok Shop, more posting surface area equals more discovery. So if you get to where you're posting 3 times a day from your page, that's great. That's 90 posts a month. But if you have your page and you have a personal brand page, then now we have 180 posts a month. It's more surface area for success. All right. So that's the first reason to start doing it. The second reason we're going to get into in a later video in the series. For now, we just need the surface area. If you're not already running an affiliate program using Social Snowball, you should be. So head over to socialsnowball.io and tell them we sent you. All right, let's get back to the show. I also think that there's a huge lost opportunity on YouTube long form for some of these legacy consumer, I'll call them brands, but retailers as well. So like Target. How does Target not have like a long form YouTube presence? You know what I mean? I don't know if it's a podcast exactly. I think it could be. It could be a podcast throughout their store or a show throughout their store. All right. So like Target comes to you, Kevin, and they say, what do we do on YouTube?
Once again, I say, who are we trying to go after here? Who is
Target says everybody.
Everybody, yeah. And I'd be like,
moms in their 30s.
Kinda.
Yeah, it's a lot of moms in their 30s.
But exactly, right? It's like, and if it's everybody, it's like, okay, it's everybody. But how is the way that we're going after everybody different than maybe some of our key competitors? What makes us different? So there's some sort of delta, even if it is quote unquote everybody, although it's never quote unquote everybody. You can always get more specific with who you're going after, because there's a difference between targeting and positioning, as I define them, where you can position your show as for a certain group of people, and you still know in the back of your mind that there are other groups of people that are going to tune in, they're going to follow along, but we point the show at a specific group of people. Yeah. That actually I find works better than trying to say, okay, let's point the show at everybody, because at that point the show's not pointed anywhere, and everyone's like, I don't know what this is. So,
and if we were Target, we'd probably have all kinds of survey data and stuff like that to feed you.
Yeah, they would answer that question pretty quick.
Would you go off like when you're doing your work on like analyzing who they should speak to? Would you do your work off of like Target's a great example? A majority of the content you see around Target is these like moms in their 30s making like Target haul content. I went to Target and like we're getting our house ready for spring, that kind of stuff. So do you use like short form influencer and just creator and regular people content to inform what the YouTube output would be like, the longer form?
No. So if that were the situation that I was brought into, first of all, I'd go to Target and I'd be say, who are you trying to reach? And they'd be like, we want to go after this demographic. That's why we brought you in.
Make one up so you can.
Yeah. So let's say that the mom, right?
Yeah.
So it's
millennial
the
moms.
Millennial
Yeah.
moms. And, is she working? Is she stay at home? But either way, maybe that doesn't matter. She's trying to keep the house, looking like what the stuff that you see at Target. She walks in, she's there for 3 hours. She loves all the stuff in there,
Jeez.
right?
Yeah.
So I know a few of these people.
Me too.
No,
So, but again,
everybody in your neighborhood is one of these.
we've already been like, okay, yeah, I know who that is, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say, okay, we zoom out to the actual, we zoom out from the products and say, talk about her psychology and the psychographic and what is it that she wants. And describe the life that she wants, the home that she wants, who she wants to be. And then you make a show about being that person.
Yeah.
Whether it's interviews or entertainment or something, people buy these products because they want to be this person. So let's make a show about being that person.
As it relates to her home, I would say it's that's why the Marie Kondo thing got so popular, is because women saw that and they're like, yeah, I wish, I want to, that's what I want. I want this to feel less on top of me.
Right. So it could be, an example that could crush for Target would be, it could be conversations. It could be an interview show kind of like this, because those do very, very well with this demographic. Put it on the TV or put it on, in the iPod. There's tons of stuff that they're doing where they have companion content that they listen to.
Yeah.
So it could be conversations about being a mom. It can be conversations about being a millennial. It could be, it could be conversations like this week we're talking about how to organize the basement, those types of things. And it's just with all of those, we talk about being that person. Oh, well, you can get this product. Oh, well, this product will do it for you. And it kind of flows into it.
The products are placements. I have another idea. Tell me if it's good. All right, so I'm trying to practice now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm trying to practice being you, because really, a lot of e-commerce brands ask me in consulting, how can I stand? I'm doing the same 5 channels as every other brand.
Yep.
And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, the reason every brand is doing those 5 channels is because of the 5 channels that work. And if you're trying to do something else, it's probably just doing a channel that doesn't work. But a channel I think does work that not a lot of brands can execute is long form organic. All right. So this is why I'm asking. All right. So Target, another idea that they could do is it could be an interview show, but it could be, the theme is what is the target, right? So what are the things in life that you can just not worry about, right? The things that you can just let go of, and the thing that you're focusing on, and different people come in and say what theirs is, right? And how they're trying to let go of other things. I think for specifically for the millennial mom who feels like she has to do everything,
Right.
that could play.
Yeah, so I would say that last sentence there, I hear it there, where it's she feels like she wants to do everything and is having a hard time with it. That's the psychographic. That's the point A. And then we say, okay, well, as a part of that conversation, we're going to help you make it so that A, you don't feel like you have to do everything, but also B, you are able to do everything. And you're like, what? Oh my God. And that's what the show's going to be about. And what a lot of times when I work with a show, I'm like, the format actually doesn't matter that much. We'll come up with a format that you like to do and that you can do consistently and you can do, based on whatever your budget is. But what it comes down to is every show makes a promise.
Yeah.
Every episode supports that promise. And as long as that episode somehow specifically gets the person closer to the promise, then great. Interview, vlog, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's how is this helping me get to where I want to be, who I want to be.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, I think this one's a hard one, and then we'll do DadGang. All right, so this is a brand called Ondar. I used to work with them.
Okay.
And this is soft goods. It's not, it's bags and wallets is kind of their main 2 sellers. The wallets are minimal wallets. There's usually some kind of functionality to them, you push a button and the cards pop out or something like that.
Yep.
So they play really well on product videos. I will give you the context that at first they had a very male sort of tech forward early adopter type audience, and then they've partnered with a couple influencers, her being the biggest one, and now it's really shifted to their female products do a lot better. We're talking about another millennial moms brand here, really. But I think that specifically this is a hard one to connect a show to, because it's bags and wallets, right? Just stuff everybody carries every day.
Yeah. So again, it comes back to the who. So like we could talk about the two eras of this brand. So the earlier era, I think I might have even had one of these.
Yeah.
Where it was like a little bit more tech forward. And so I would go back to, I had this wallet where it was leather. I don't even know if it was this brand, but it was leather and it was like RFID safe. So you could put your cards in there and it would like flip out and stuff. And for me, like I learned that from back when I was a software developer. This really cool software developer that I knew had one, and he was just so cool because he was like super alt. Like I don't know, he was alt, but like cool about it, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll go back to like, why did I do that? Well, because I liked the feeling of when I pulled out the wallet. First of all, I felt ahead of the game technologically because I had RFID and I'm like, oh, they're going to steal my card numbers. So that like gave me status and significance.
Right.
But then like, I loved the feeling of pulling out the wallet and flipping the thing and the cards jump out and people were like, whoa, that's so cool.
Right.
So, so that show, I would obviously dig in with this brand to say, tell me more about who's buying this stuff, like why they're buying it, what angles have worked so far for you. And can we position a show around that person, what they're, why, like, where they want to be. And then I would say it would need to be a separate show for their new demographic, for the millennial mom. It can't be the same show because it's a different avatar, it's a different psychographic, it's a different person. It is a more difficult one, but you can always dive deeper into the psychology.
Let's talk about the two shows. So I think that the reason that this one is hard is because even this brand has a hard time saying like, why is it that men are buying this?
Yeah.
Like it's very much like this kind of functional product thing that, I don't know, people buy and they like it, but I think even the brand has a hard time saying like, who is our customer psychographically. Demographically, obviously they can say who it is.
Right.
But like psychographically, who is our customer and what is their pain point that they're solving with this? And I think that a lot of hard goods, soft goods type brands have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because their product is almost commodity. Like if you buy a backpack, a bag or whatever, backpack is another great example, a backpack company. It's like, what is the pain they're trying to solve? I have stuff and I need to bring the stuff a place.
Yes.
And so I'm going to need a bag for that. Right. But like beyond that, who are they psychographically? Like the product does solve this specific pain. Does that make sense?
And I would say in addition to pain, it's sometimes pain, but it's just, how does it make them feel?
Yeah.
Which sometimes making pain go away is how it makes them feel. It makes them feel less
or
pain.
Just a specific annoyance or a thing, inconvenience that they have. Or
well,
whatever.
you guys are the e-commerce guys, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say if it's just merely to solve an inconvenience, then it's going to be tough to compete on price, and like it's going to be pretty commoditized at that point. But it's when you get into the like, having this product makes me feel a certain way. Like I can think of different backpacks that I've had that have been for me in different contexts. Like when I'm moving around and traveling a lot, I've got this cool like compartmentally backpack that looks cool, but it's also super functional. And I'm like, if I'm building a show around that, I'm building a show around nomads, work from home, like that type of like just that life of being on the go all the time. I've had other backpacks that are like sports backpacks or like the gym and stuff like that, where it's like, oh my God, I can fit all my gym stuff and I can still go to the office. Oh my gosh. So let's make a show about, fitness in the workplace. I don't know. That doesn't sound super good, but you know what I mean?
Fitness for like real people.
Right, exactly. Right. Okay. So that's where I'd go with it. And so I'd say like, yes, it is hard to do for a lot of brands, but it can be done. And if you're gonna do content, that's where you want to start. And it's because of how algorithms work, because they serve up content based on what you're interested in. It's not, social media is not on the social graph anymore. It's on the interest graph.
Yeah.
And so people, like the algorithms are really good at determining what do these people want, what are they interacting with, what are they interested in. So if you can get good at figuring that out, then content in particular is at your beck and call, because you can just say, I want to make this content for people who feel this way and want to feel this way. And the algorithms, if you're consistent with it, that's what many people mess up, will reward you. So it is the task at hand, is diving down into who that person is.
Yeah. And I think that's like, for many brands like that, they have like a cool thing and people buy it because it's like visually cool. You know what I mean? But they have a hard time knowing what is the feeling. And then oftentimes when something is a status purchase, people don't, like you said it was a status purchase and you were okay with saying that because we're here talking about marketing. But like the average everyday guy doesn't want to say like, I bought this so that I could feel better than other people.
I don't even know.
You know,
they don't even know that's why.
Right, exactly.
The show's called I'm Better Than You.
I'm better than you. That actually,
really
maybe that is the play. It's like, what are like the little things that you do to like feel better than other people?
Yeah.
Anytime you're a brand,
that could be the dude version of it. Probably.
Anytime you're a brand, you're putting out content. If you're tongue in cheek about it, it's like
yeah. And a brand like that, for a brand like that, that is a lot of their products, right? Because I always say this, sunglasses is the category I use all the time for everything. That like, anytime you're selling sunglasses, clothing is the other category like this, where it's like, you're not like you are literally not selling the thing, right? Like for very cheap, I can go buy a thing that keeps sun out of my eyes. Right. So if you're an e-commerce brand selling a $40 pair of sunglasses, you're not selling blocking the sun.
Right.
And every sunglass brand inherently understands that. And I would say clothing brands inherently understand that as well. Like the cheapest possible t-shirt I could buy will cover my body.
Yeah.
Right. So like, or the cheapest jacket I could buy will cover my body. So if I buy anything but that, I'm buying something else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you say that's true for any brand that's selling something that's not just like the cheapest thing on Alibaba? Like
anything that's a commodity, yes. Right. Yeah. I mean, there's pain-solving products as well, right? So, I was going to use Royal. Yeah, instead of Grounded Labs, let's do Royal. Okay, so Royal, brand that I worked for the last year, we have like better for you bread products.
Yep.
So bread, bagels, things like that. They're fairly high in protein, but like I think the main selling point of them is like low net carbs and low calories.
Yep.
And basically that they taste as good, right?
Yep.
So where do you go with that?
Oh my God, easy. Yeah. The better for you life. So, you know, the whole show, again, whether it's interviews, it doesn't matter what the format is, but this show is about, you know, you don't want to be like those people online that are getting everything perfect. They've got like, you know, the crazy abs and everything is just locked in. They're eating rice and chicken all the time. But you do want to look good. You do want to be in shape. You do want to be healthy. So where's the middle? This show is about the middle. This show is about, you know, if we're not the best, we're better.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the tagline.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, the bagels are a microcosm of, I want to be healthy. I don't want to just eat these Thomas bagels because they're ridiculous. They destroy my macros for the whole day.
Yeah.
But I still want to have a bagel in the morning.
Right.
And looking into other places of life where that's the case.
Where are there like 80-20 trade-offs, basically.
Right. And that's what the whole show is about. Finding that balance in your life where you can have, because there's so much pressure to be so perfect all the time. Yeah. So we're going to explore what it's like to make a better choice every day.
You do a whole series on morning routines.
What if
this stuff is actually helping?
That's right. Something with bagels in the middle and the center that you could play in there.
Yeah.
Too.
Boom. You just get a table and you cut a hole in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's a bagel.
Yeah.
Bagel table.
Bagel table.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing. If you're running an e-commerce brand right now, doing somewhere between 1 million and 10 million, and you're stuck on something specific, whether it's your margins or your ad spend, your team structure, whatever it is, I do a limited number of consulting calls. It's just you and me going through your numbers and figuring out what to fix. There's a link in the description if you want to see if it's a fit. All right. So I actually think, we were talking about this yesterday, that DadGang could actually kill it with a podcast. There's a couple reasons for that. One, a lot of people are starting to knock Bart's brand off, right? Like maybe not calling it DadGang, but like trying to use the same sort of A-frame hat that you're using, trying to use similar designs, stuff like that. You're glaring at me like
there's those people just making fake DadGang hats.
Okay, there's that for sure. But those I assume that you're taking care of with.
Yes.
Those I assume you're taking legal action against. But there are people who are basically like, why don't I just like knock off the design and like the vibe and everything, right? That is, by the way, the e-commerce game. It is very hard to have a true product moat. Like it's hard to invent a net new like thingamajig, right?
Yeah.
And so like one of the things I thought like, okay, what you need is depth, right? Like you have a great top of funnel, and I think a podcast could probably clip well and contribute to that organic top of funnel that drives DadGang, and even the paid top of funnel that drives DadGang. But I think where it would really set you apart is that a lot of these like people who are kind of just coming in for like to not build what you want to build DadGang into, like a community and like a movement, they're not going to do the hard thing. You know what I mean? And so like, that's where I think like a long form play for DadGang could do really well. And obviously I like podcasts. When you're hammer, everything looks like a nail, but it probably wouldn't have to, it doesn't have to be a podcast, but like, for the sake of the fact that I'm a hammer and you're a hammer as well, let's talk about what a podcast would look like, do you think, for DadGang?
Yeah. So tell me about the dads. So I imagine you think of a certain dad.
Of course.
Who buys, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What dads are not those dads?
That's a great question.
Me.
No, you wear DadGang hats all the time.
That's true.
No, I would say first of all, dads that don't wear hats, of course.
Okay.
People with incredible hair like you.
Honestly, dads that don't enjoy being dads.
Ooh, interesting.
I mean, that does exist. The dads that are negligent and don't want to. The dads that don't want to embrace fatherhood aren't going to wear a hat that says DadGang on the front.
Can I throw another one in there and you tell me if I'm wrong?
Sure.
Put dad in front of any word. Dad bod, dad joke, dad shorts, dad shoes. That dad isn't really like the dad who wants to wear the white New Balance.
It's really not the goof.
The goof dad, right? Like the dad who wants to wear the white New Balance in the.
Well, it's not the dad that like the '80s through the early 2000s like made dads to be. So
right.
We started the brand.
It's not a Disney dad.
Yeah, we started the brand to actually like kind of combat that because I became a dad and then all I saw online was like just goofy mowing the lawn stuff.
And the irony of this is that it's counterculture. We're not for that kind of dad, but it's like nobody actually is that. Nobody wants to be the lame dad.
No.
You know?
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, we have had dads like throw on the retro dad jean shorts, long socks, Nike Air Monarchs
as a
outfit
joke
to the delivery of their kid with a DadGang hat on.
Yeah.
So like we can't control it all, and I think that's awesome. Like he just wanted to be a goofy guy that day, but it's the dad that like that realizes he's more than just like this goofball. Mm-hmm. So we're really not targeting like dumb dad bod type person.
So then tell me a little bit more about what these dads do differently than the dumb dads.
Yeah, I would say they embrace fatherhood for all of the aspects of becoming a father and being one. So not just that surface level stuff, but embracing like the mental health doubts that go in around, am I even being a good father? The struggles of being a good partner or husband. The dads that just take on the role of being a dad and realize that it is like the greatest blessing of their life. It's those dads. There's a deep emotional root in why you wear a DadGang hat. And that's why we have, if you know, on the side of the hat, because it's like if you are a father and you go through all the things that dads go through, then that stands out to you. So it is those like deeper emotional things. We like to really pull at the heartstrings.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. Yeah. That's what it's about, man. So, what I'm hearing is, I mean, you named the point A. It's the dad who is, even in the face of the difficulties of fatherhood, which like when you think about the dork dad, you're thinking of him like having a beer and like not paying attention and not helping mom and like not knowing where his kids go to school and all that stuff and not really being into it, but he's got kids. But these are the dads who, even in the face of all these really difficult things, are still all about it. They're still advocates. They're still for it. And they still want to show up and just be amazing despite all of that pain, which I'm willing to guess a lot of them don't talk about as much. Yeah. So it sounds like you have a community where it's like, hey guys, we're going to now acknowledge that this is really hard, that you have doubts, that, it takes a lot away. And so what we're going to do together is just like be the best dads that we can be and try and crush it together. Yeah. And the show becomes about that, whether it's conversations about how to do it or it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what the format is. But it's what's the point A, what's the point B? And you already have it. So your show, so if you wanted to build a personal brand, it would be create a show for long form, create content that's around that. It's like, if you follow me, if you subscribe to me, you're going to learn how to be a better dad. And you're going to join this group of people who are here to just crush this, even though it's so freaking hard. And we're going to talk about how hard it is. Yeah. So if you want that, subscribe. And then they'll be like, yes, oh my God, they subscribe. And they're like, wait, oh, cool, I'm totally wearing this hat. And then they're like, Bart. And now you have a personal brand because you made it about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And we like to, I agree with all that stuff. Like we haven't done consistent long form, but we've done we've worked with a good number of professional athletes and we've done collaborative hats with them. But what we like to do, similar to your point, is we like to remove the athlete part of their life and sit them down and just talk about, when we're in a room together, I'm not Mookie Betts. I'm not one of the best baseball players of all time. But if I strip away baseball, then we're just dads hanging out talking about all of the aspects of fatherhood and try to lean into that because these guys, they talk about their sport each and every day. But we get like the absolute craziest stories from our customers around dads that are like, one dad sent us an eviction notice, like lost his job, has to move out. And I think we sent him a hat just to like, give him a morale booster. Like, man, you're going through it. Would love to get you a hat. I know it's not a job or finances, but like, we're going to get you a hat and just some motivation to, keep going at it. And then like months later, he sent us a selfie in the hat, got a new apartment, got a new job, and like sitting down with that guy.
Yeah.
And dads that are like dealing with infertility issues. Maybe they want to be a dad super bad, but they can't because of they've been trying IVF or IUI forever and it's super tough.
Right.
Like those kinds of conversations would be great.
This brings it back to making it mass market because there's a lot of dads, right?
Yeah.
So you can take a premise like this, and so you just named for me 3 amazing episodes.
Yeah.
One is about the one who kind of got through that moment,
Yeah.
telling that story and talking about those moments. Tell me about the exact moment where you could have given up, you could have stopped doing this, but you put the dad hat on and you said, all right, let's do this. And like with the athletes, like that could be a recurring thing for sure, where the athletes will love that. But also, I mean, that in and of itself could be a show. We talk to famous people, quote unquote. We've talked to the people that you've heard of, but you hear about it. You hear from them in a way that you never have before. There's just so much that you can do with that.
I think the cool thing about your potential show is that you could talk to, Tim from the Facebook group. You know what I mean? Or you could talk to Mookie Betts.
That's right.
Or you could talk to Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? Like it could be anybody.
That's the thing.
And even like the thing I said is like, even if they don't have kids, they probably have a dad. Like they can talk about their dad. I don't know if that's off base, but
and like the IVF thing, it could be like, like you can be a fatherly figure to anybody, even if they're not your biological kid. So today we're going to talk about,
Yeah, like stepdads is like another episode,
right?
Like the struggle of being a stepdad. What's different about that?
Yeah.
Right?
So like to like purely get your advice on this while we're here. For me, like I've been the biggest stickler about posting every single day since the brand started.
That's on short form
on Instagram, whether it's photo or video. But I like get the cold sweats if I don't post something by like 8 p.m.
Yeah,
that's like my main stressor is like
Bart's only got one job every day.
If I don't post something in a day, it's not a good day. So like
Bart lives that influencer life.
But with YouTube, you're saying it's more okay to like if you're going to do a long form show to break up that cadence.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is it doesn't sound good to add a second thing to freak out about not hitting the deadline on.
Sure.
Time.
If you were to tell me like you need a show a week, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, no. I don't
think you should do a show.
So there's 2 things that go into the calculus now. Because again, like for people who have been in the podcast world for a long time, it's drilled into podcasters' brains.
At least once a week.
Every week. And I can't tell you how many podcasters I speak to where they're like, I've been consistent for 4 years and I'm not growing. And I'm like, well, no, first of all, consistency alone isn't going to grow the show. But secondly, that's not as important anymore because of the way that the landscape is. What matters is your packaging on YouTube and whether or not your show's good because it'll work and it'll get shares and stuff like that. So yeah, you can. I mean, it is beneficial to commit to some sort of cadence because even though open residency guys, again, from afar, I don't know the innards of their show. They were
I'm really good friends with Mark. So
it's every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks? Okay.
Yeah.
You know who I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Caleb Ralston.
Yes.
Was monthly for his first 8 months.
Yep.
Doing his own personal brand thing. But again, like really, really high production
Really
value.
high production. He did a 6-hour video.
Yeah. And so, but it just shows that you don't need to crank. The other thing that's true is that right now there's like this barbell effect in content where the really high production value and then really lo-fi stuff is doing really well. And in the middle is where people are kind of having a hard time.
Right.
So at the same time, again, hammer nail, it's like, why do you want to do this? Is it because a couple of guys said you should have a podcast, or is it because you generally see a business opportunity for you here? And so from there, you can take the high production route and do it in the way that what I've heard with the access that you have to certain people and the way that you can cover topics that they don't usually cover, that's really, really appealing.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, like if you're more of a I post every single day, no matter what, I get something out type of guy, then you can make the show super lo-fi. You still need to have right prep into who's the show for, like that sort of stuff. But it totally plays as well.
Yeah.
There's some shows that crush.
Knowing you like aesthetics.
A little bit, like the brand, but for the most part, like all the content you see over 3.5 years is still iPhone shot.
Yeah.
Shot well, but it's still iPhone shot, videos on iPhone, CapCut to cut it. But I think knowing what I was going to say is knowing you. Yeah.
I think you could do a once a month thing or every two, find a cadence that's easier, start once a month and then try and go to every 2 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm you, I would try and do it in person.
Yeah.
And at some sort of studio environment.
We do these athlete collaborations and we put out a long form, sit down with them, and it just goes out whenever the partnership is done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but you can also and correct me if I'm wrong, but you could put an energy around your show on YouTube that it comes out when it comes out. Rather than like...
There are some people who do that. Is there anyone who's new doing that?
It comes out when it comes out.
Don't take like a 6-month gap, right? But like...
Nothing comes to mind. I think that's why I say if you're going to do it... So it's funny because it gets to the what does a podcast mean now, right? Because what the hell even is a podcast? And
you're like the Matt Walsh of podcasting over here.
It depends on who. Yeah, it's like, what does this mean though? But it depends on who you ask. Because if you ask people who were in podcasting 5 years ago, they'd be like, it's an RSS feed audio show,
right?
Blah, 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 blah. And with love to my podcasting peeps from over the years. But if you ask other people, like there are people who say, I was watching a podcast the other day and don't even know that they have the podcast app on their phone. Yeah. So it depends on who you're talking to. The way that I'm defining it, the way that it's most useful for me these days is to find a podcast as a show that publishes on a regular cadence.
Yeah.
So you can take whatever your regular whatever the frequency is that you can handle, you can make it cadenced. Yeah. Right. Instead of like, well, we do 4 interviews and then we don't do any more for 4 months. It's like, great, publish 1 month. You know what I mean? You can even out the spacing between those. And that's helpful because that's where you do get the habitual behavior of your audience. That's what builds the audience of a podcast, is knowing like that there's going to be a new episode out and like kind of looking for it. That's kind of, one of my favorite things is if I know that a show is publishing on a certain day, if that show is on my tiny little grocery shelf of podcasts that I listen to all the time, which is true for every podcast listener, which is why it's so hard to grow shows, because you got to knock someone else off their grocery shelf. But they look forward to it and they know when the show is going to publish. So while what I said is true that you don't have to do weekly on YouTube, and some shows are growing faster on YouTube because they're taking the amount of energy that they would put into 4 episodes and putting it into 1, you still, if you're going to do it, want to have some sort of publishing. So
yours would probably be, would you say then that like if his is a monthly, let's say.
Monthly sounds
That's like
doable.
a YouTube show, not necessarily. Like you might not even go to the audio feeds with that then.
I would still do it. Because again, it's all starting to meld. Spotify is YouTubeifying itself, and even Apple's starting to add video. So put it everywhere. You know, on the RSS feeds, it's pretty hard to grow them. Spotify's new algorithm notwithstanding, without sending traffic to them. Mm-hmm. But when you get momentum on one of the platforms, people do start looking for it in the app that they use all the time. So if they discover your show on YouTube and they're like, oh, cool, let me check out this podcast. There's a lot of people who will be like, nice, open up Apple Podcasts, search for it, and add it to their little Apple Podcast grocery shelf. Mm-hmm. So you do want to try to be, where you can be.
Yeah.
I like what you just said about like, my thing is, I just said the stress is from needing to post every day. Yeah. Because it's something that I've just like held myself to since starting the brand. But I'd be kind of helping myself a lot if I had a long form show.
If you had some clips.
That would go out and then I would throw it into Riverside or wherever to clip it for me.
You committed to posting every day, not to recording every day.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just another reason though, like kind of light bulb went off for me.
I think you have such a direct business case, honestly.
But I'm saying not even for myself. I think brands should be doing long form to get more short form.
Yes. I would actually say, to your point, the quickest ROI on long form for if a brand gets into it, like all of the examples we talked about today, the quickest ROI for almost all of them will be that it clips into short form. That will be what helps them first, because long form sometimes takes time to get traction. Takes time to like find your voice or to find your audience. YouTube, like you need to kind of direct videos at the same audience over and over on YouTube for it to be like, okay, I got you. Yeah, like we know who likes you. Right?
Yeah,
but like it clips right away, and every product brand is pretty prolific now. I mean, it's sort of table stakes for a product brand to be, posting a lot of organic social content and running ads on those social channels.
And YouTube Shorts and TikTok and
So what I say to business owners when, if they're thinking about working with us or even thinking about, launching a podcast and asking about ROI in the business case, I'm like, there's 3 waves of ROI. The first wave is going to be retargeting for people who are already in your sphere. Like, oh my gosh, these guys have a podcast now. Wow.
Yeah. So you distribute to your Facebook group and
it's all over the place.
list.
And it's that middle of funnel. It's more nurturing. It's more top of mind. So that's the first wave. The second wave is then any direct monetization that comes from the show itself. Right, so it could be direct product sales that you can attribute to the episodes, or it could be, if you're selling sponsorships, things like that. But then the third one is like the almost intangibles that happen when you start to grow a long form following. Because, think about if you publish a 60-minute episode. I mean, we're over. I think we're over now, or close to it. I don't know. So for someone to spend as much time, if this is unedited, we've been recording for 1 hour and 13 minutes. That is 73 shorts. To get to that if they're all a minute long. So people spend so much time with you and your brand immediately that they really start to get fervent. So I was interviewing one of my previous clients from last year the other day, and he owns a consulting company that consults legacy Hollywood companies on how to implement AI.
He's got a pretty sizable podcast.
Yeah. Dang. So when his onboarding form to work with us on April 9th of 2025, it was April 3rd. He had 9 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Last I checked, he had 233,000. The show's charting in the top 30 in technology. And it's because, I can talk about why it's because, but it's not why I brought it up. I brought it up because I had him on my show. Crazy case study, probably our best one from 2025. And he's just awesome. His name is Orlando. His show is called Technically Creative. And I asked him, I was doing my great case study interview thing where I'm like, so if there's anybody who's considering launching a podcast and not sure about it, what would you tell them? Or considering working with us, what would you tell them? And I was surprised by his answer. I wasn't expecting it. And he said, you're not going to be able to imagine the ROI once it grows. Like there's so many things that's going to happen that when you're like making the business case, it's just not going to hit the spreadsheet. Yeah. And you're just like the opportunities, the introductions, the networking, the people that come forward, it's hard to quantify. So that's the third wave of ROI where it's like, holy crap, I never could have known that this would have happened.
One of the things I hear a lot from people who have like more established podcasts is that it's like the DMs I get from somebody that was like, oh my gosh, that person reached out to me.
Oh.
Right? Like that, and it's not even always their most popular episodes, right?
Oh, often not. The best people where you're like, I can't believe they listen to my show, it'll be like the least downloaded episode.
I do want to talk about the idea of sticking with it though, because I think the short term, it's not what you think in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I have this great idea for a show, you do it, and it's like, okay, 20 views, 30 views, right? Like it's, when you just said like, you can't really imagine the ROI, for a group of business owners, how would you say, how do I word this question? When should they actually pull the plug and say, this isn't really working?
Okay, so...
or how long should they stick with it before making that? How long should they commit to like, we're going to do this?
Yes. So there's thresholds like anything else. Yeah. There's thresholds that you hit. And the number one threshold that most people don't get past is the friends and family zone, what I call it, which is where you have 100 to 200 downloads or views per episode. The vast majority of people are stuck there. And that's why most people don't get past I hear people say episode 3, episode 7, whatever, is because it takes a lot of work. It's not what you thought. It's way more work than you thought. It's hard. But then you're publishing it and you're kind of embarrassed by the fact that, it's only 100 or 200 views. And you're like, why am I doing all this? This doesn't make me look better. It's making me look worse. The way that you get past that is making your show what I call growable, which is what we've been talking about this whole time. Make it about the audience, what it's going to do for them. And once you get strangers tuning in and listening to your show, despite the fact that they have no idea who you are, that's when the show starts to grow. People don't get stuck at 500 views. Because if they can get past 200 and get to 500, they start inching their way up.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing where it's like, it's less like give it this amount of time before you decide. I would say give it 10 episodes.
Don't stop because of embarrassment is probably the right.
Give it 10 episodes. Commit to doing 10 episodes to see if you like doing it. That's the thing.
Okay.
And I never have spoken publicly about launching a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's only grow the show. And that's for 6 years been my filter, because so many people launch and then they're like, whoa,
I don't even like doing
this
it.
is hard. This is a lot. Like
Yeah.
it's going to take a place in your life for as long as you're doing it. No matter how, like if you're going to do it, you're going to be doing it. I mean, imagine how much your life has changed by doing social every day. Like it's a thing that's a part of your life now to do that.
Started with no interaction.
None.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, first it's do 10, see if you like it. But if the thing is, if it's not growing, my heart breaks when I get on sales calls with people, and I've had it where they're like, I've been doing this for 20 years.
What?
Yes, 10, 20, 15 years, and the show still hasn't grown. And I'm like, the pain tolerance that you have is
insane.
Unbelievable. And they're just like, because the advice that they have internalized is just be consistent, publish consistently, and then it'll start to work. But the problem is, my favorite story about this is when I lived in Miami for a little bit, and when I moved to Miami, I hired a trainer for the first time. Now I had been lifting for 5 years.
You're a Miami guy now.
I was a Miami guy. I'm like, I got to do this. I lived in Philly, and then I went to Miami, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get my.
You're like, I'm a Philly 8, I'm a Miami 5.
I'm -8, more like. So I hired a trainer, and I watched video. I read Starting Strength. I'm like, yeah, I know how to lift, and my first session with him, I started doing lat pull downs.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, do this. And I did it. And it was, my back screamed. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've been doing these wrong for 5 years.
Yeah.
And all of that I've been consistently every week in the gym doing the wrong thing for 5 years.
Yeah.
And my back, the lats didn't grow. Don't look, they're not huge. But you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So the lesson there was if you're doing the wrong thing, like if you're doing it right, your show will grow.
Yeah.
You will get reach, especially now in the algorithm age of podcasting with YouTube and Spotify. It's only recent that we have an algorithm. Previously, you had to grow your audience elsewhere and send them to your podcast feed, which was really hard. But now, if you can understand packaging, if you can have solid intros, if you can get people to keep paying attention, your show will grow. So if that's not happening and you've published 50 episodes and you're still at 200, it's not be more consistent and it'll just pop at some point. You have to change something about what you're doing. So that's what I would say to these business owners when I'm like, give it time. Give yourself 10 episodes to see if you
even
like
want to do it.
Being in your regular weekly routine. If after that it's not growing, don't at any point if it's not growing, you need to change what you're doing, because it's like as soon as you get it right, it will grow immediately. You'll start to see results.
I think embarrassment, what you said, that's really a big reason a lot of people who do kind of have some traction elsewhere quit fast, because it's like, I have 300,000 followers on Instagram. I launched my podcast and it got 40 views on the first episode, and those YouTube views are public.
Well,
everybody sees it.
That's what's new. That's what's new.
Yeah, you throw some ad spend at it, make it look a little bit better.
You can, which, I look at them like, oh, they bought ads on these. Yeah. But that's new, actually, because it's new that YouTube is the primary place. And so it's new that you can see how many views and subscribers a show has, where previously you couldn't. You had no idea. So people they'd say, I have a top 1% podcast.
Yeah.
Which what's hilarious about that is it's the top 1% of all podcasts that are on the Apple Podcast directory, which last I checked, there's about 4 million of them. And roughly 4 million of them aren't publishing anymore. It's literally, there's about,
everybody who's publishing as a top 1%.
Right.
Podcast.
It's like 10% of the podcast. Exactly. So if you just publish, you're in the top 1% because they're all dead. So, but now you can't hide behind that anymore. And you have, people can see, and it's really
those YouTube views are public, but you could juice them if you want, if you don't want to be embarrassed or whatever. But that's the main thing. It's like, just don't stop because of embarrassment. If you like doing it though. Yeah. I like that. That was good. Tell Bart how you can help him, and in doing so, tell all. This was the scheme the whole time. Bart.
It's not even recording.
No, we're not even recording anything.
Most expensive sales call ever.
In doing so, all the other product brand owners that are like, okay, I'm sold.
Yeah. So the first thing I'd say is, if you're going to do this, you're going to do a podcast. My company's called Grow the Show. Put out tons of content that talks about how to do this thing. The way that I help business owners is I kind of have started doing it with all the exact with all the example brands that we've talked about here, where it's like, all right, let's talk about who your audience is. You already have it all there. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it? Is it something that you want to, spend attention and spend on? But yeah, if you're a business owner and you want help with it, the number one thing is to get the podcast promise right, and then make that reflected in your show.
Yeah. And then Kev's company, I would say, will make the production lift much easier. Can't take it away entirely. Like, you still have to have the relationships and stuff like that.
Right.
If you're going to have guests, but like the production lift becomes much easier, I would say. Cool. Well, what do you want to do my CTA since I'm so bad at them? You said
So if you like this show and you want to get more ways to scale your e-commerce business on YouTube all the time, definitely subscribe right now. It goes a long way. And so if you're an e-commerce business owner who isn't at 1 million yet, or if you're at 1 million and you're stuck at a certain threshold, this show is going to help you get unstuck, because these guys have actual experience. So they're going to share the experience in the trenches of blasting e-commerce brands past those thresholds. And if you want that, just subscribe to the show right now.